You're holding your phone right now, and somewhere, buried in a warehouse, there's a patent with your phone's inventor's name on it. Every piece of technology you own has an origin story, a person, a date, a eureka moment. The gun doesn't have one, and that should terrify you a little bit, because we're talking about the single most world-changing invention in human history, the thing that ended the age of knights, the thing that let a farmer kill a king. And nobody, not one single person, gets to put their name on it. Let's figure out why. Somewhere around the 9th century in China, a group of monks were not trying to build a weapon. They were trying to live forever. Taoist alchemists were mixing sulfur, charcoal, and saltpeter, trying to cook up an elixir of immortality. That's not a joke. That was the actual goal. Eternal life. In a bowl. Instead, they got something that exploded. Imagine that meeting. We were going for never die. We got guaranteed death, but faster and louder. That's not a small miss. That's the biggest oops in recorded history. They called this new mixture Huo Yao, fire medicine. And here's the part that breaks people's brains. For the first few hundred years, nobody used fire medicine to kill anyone. They used it for fireworks. Think about that. Humanity had the formula for gunpowder in its hands, and the first instinct was, let's make this pretty and shoot it into the sky at parties. We had the ingredients for war, and we used them for birthday celebrations. For centuries. Eventually, of course, someone looked at the fireworks and thought, what if, instead of pointing this up, I pointed it at a guy I don't like? And that's roughly how gunpowder weapons were born. Not from a genius in a lab. From slow, messy trial and error spread out over hundreds of years across different cultures, each one tweaking the formula a little bit. Early versions were laughably crude. Bamboo tubes packed with gunpowder, strapped to spears. The fire lance. It was less advanced weapon and more stick that also happens to be on fire. By the time actual metal tubes came around, actual guns, the kind that shoot a projectile, you're looking at the 13th and 14th centuries. And here's the thing that historians still argue about. Nobody can agree on who made the first one. China had early hand cannons. The Middle East had its own versions. Europe had its own. They weren't copying one single blueprint. They were all independently stumbling toward the same terrifying idea, like the universe just decided this invention was inevitable, and it was going to happen whether one specific genius showed up or not. No patent, no founding father, just gunpowder, leaking sideways across the world, showing up in slightly different shapes on different continents. Now, here's where it gets darker, and a little bit funny in the cruelest way possible. When guns first hit European battlefields, knights did not take it well. For centuries, being a knight meant something. You trained your whole life. You wore custom armor. You mastered the sword, the lance, the horse. Combat was a skill. It was honor. It was status. And then some random farmer with zero training picks up a metal tube, points it at a knight from 30 feet away, and ends his bloodline. Knights were furious, genuinely offended. Some medieval writers described guns as cowardly, dishonorable, unfair. Imagine spending 20 years mastering a sword and then losing to a guy who's never held a weapon before in his life because he found a tube that does the work for him. That's not just a battlefield loss, that's an ego death, and that's the real story of the gun. It wasn't invented to be efficient, it wasn't invented to be honorable or fair, or even intentional. It was invented by accident, refined by chaos, and spread by no one in particular, and it still managed to erase centuries of military tradition almost overnight. So why does none of this have a single inventor's name attached? Because that's not actually how most world-changing technology works. We love the myth of the lone genius. The light bulb moment. One person, one flash of insight, one name in the history books. But gunpowder wasn't a flash. It was a slow leak. Monks looking for immortality. Fireworks at festivals, bamboo tubes on sticks, metal tubes on 3 continents at once, centuries of small, uncredited tweaks, each one a little closer to the thing we'd recognize today. Here's the part that should sit with you. Right now, somewhere, the same thing is probably happening again. Some piece of technology you use casually, an app, a chemical, a tool, is quietly being combined with something else by someone who isn't trying to change the world. They're just tinkering. And one day, decades from now, someone's going to ask, who invented this? And the honest answer is going to be, nobody, really. Just people, playing with fire, looking for something else entirely. The monks were looking for eternal life. What they found was the thing that would end more lives than almost anything else in human history. And they never even got a name in the story.